indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so this evening we have some presentations, so welcome. We see some familiar faces and some new ones. We see the secretary, the clerical unit is here. Hello, ladies. Thank you for joining us. A shout out for all that you do. Thank you. Okay, so I will turn it over to our superintendent because we have our presentations now.
Thank you very much, Madam President. It's with great pleasure that I call up to the podium our Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Michael Tremblay, who will lead us through two presentations tonight. Mr. Tremblay?
Thank you, Mr. DiCarlo.
You're welcome.
Members of the Board of Education, guests in the auditorium, and honored guests who are joining us for the other part of the presentation. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on two of our core instructional programs this evening. Recently, the Board of Education has spent a great deal of time and treasure to ensure high-quality math and ELA programs across all buildings. This presentation will provide an update on some of the fantastic work our students, staff, and building leadership is engaged in. We will continue to highlight how we are striving towards our district mission seen here. Literacy and math are often the cornerstones of a comprehensive education, so there is clear alignment in this presentation to our mission. Furthermore, we will see direct alignment for our strategic roadmap in the following objectives, specifically our objective related to primary grade fluency in reading and math. That goal states that Mahopac Central School District will increase the percentage of students' fluency in reading and math by the end of third grade through district-wide primary assessments, benchmarks, state assessments, and reading interventions. At Mahopac, thanks to the support of the Board of Education and our community, our teachers have the opportunity to work with a number of instructional coaches to help them continue to grow as lifelong learners. Tonight, to help me communicate our math and ELA instructional programs, I've asked two of those fantastic coaches to join me, Ms. Sharon Foreman and Ms. Lana Bartosik, who will facilitate the depth of our presentation. And when we consider how professionals continue to grow and hone their craft, to talk about coaching, I often use two perspectives. When we're supporting our teachers in their continued professional growth, we could say, these are teachers who have been basically trained through a preparatory program. They can demonstrate and improve those skills through continued professional learning on their own, or we can take the approach of supporting those teachers through programs such as instructional coaches. Often when I'm asked to explain what an instructional coach does, and teachers say, why do I need an instructional coach? Or community members would say, why do we have coaches? I liken it to a sports analogy. If LeBron James, I know he may not be the best because he doesn't always listen to his coach, but LeBron James, regardless of his relationship with his coach, he has working for him a sports psychologist. He has a medical staff. He has trainers. He has a sports psychologist, all meant to help him perform his absolute best on the basketball court. Our instructional coaches serve the same purpose. Just like coaches of the sports team, our instructional coaches serve many roles. They're collegial friends. They are leaders of professional development. They provide direct instructional lessons to our students. And they research and implement best practices in the classroom. In general, they are support for our teachers and a key factor in ensuring our efforts across all of our buildings are aligned and coherent. And our coaches provide real-time, as needed, on-demand professional learning for our teachers. At this time, I would like to introduce our K-5 literacy coach, Ms. Lana Bartosik, who will share an update on our literacy program, and in particular, the work we have done to support the rollout of the Readers Writers Workshop model of literacy instruction.
Good evening, members of the board and members of the community. We're presenting the kindergarten to 5th grade literacy update, overviewing the major accomplishments this school year, our work with the Gravity Goldberg Consulting Group, the work with myself, the literacy instructional coach, and looking toward 2020, what we need in order to continue to improve. Our first major accomplishment was professional.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Hey,
sorry.
can you just introduce yourself? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Because it's hard to hear you.
Lana Bartosik. Better?
Yes, yay.
No
Okay.
one ever complains that I'm too quiet. Okay, our first major accomplishment this year was through professional learnings. Mahopac afforded teachers the opportunities to attend a variety of professional learnings. This was very valuable for teachers because it allowed them to build a foundation of the units of study, but also the workshop model of instruction and a balanced literacy classroom. Teachers and school building leaders attended summer and fall institutes at Columbia University. Teachers attended TTT and book talks, And on Superintendent's Conference Day in November, as per teacher request, TC did a pop-up phonics institute for kindergarten and first grade teachers, and second grade teachers and beyond were offered sessions about other literacy instructional facets. The classroom environment was another major accomplishment. Teachers had to shift or reorganize their environments to be conducive to the workshop model of instruction. Due to professional learnings, the leaders were very knowledgeable about the materials and resources the teachers would need to create these environments. The shift in the classroom environments supported students to become strategic and independent readers and writers. Bulletin spaces needed to be reorganized so that they were resources for students. They included things like anchor charts, which had a growing repertoire of strategies that were taught during mini lessons. It also included word walls and posters that were aligned to the units. The meeting area is the place where the mini lessons are delivered. 90% of TC mini lessons are demonstration lessons, so easels and chart paper and document cameras were vital in delivering the instruction. Mayapack also purchased leveled libraries to supplement the genre-based and the series-based libraries that teachers already had. This allowed teachers to supply books to students on their independent level so that they would be able to read independently, but also pose enough of a challenge so that they could implicitly grow through their reading. Engagement and student motivation have a huge impact on student learning, and these units are designed to be engaging. Every unit has a theme. The phonics units have mascots that model bravery and grit for the students when they're word solving, and each unit ends in a celebration. The feedback that we've gotten from parents is that they see a change in the way that their children feel about reading. And teachers' feedback of teachers who are more than 20 years in the profession had said that this is probably the biggest effect of their efforts, that it was a tremendous undertaking to roll out 2 programs in the same school year, but they see the children are really excited about instruction, they're engaged in instruction, they even cheer when it's time for phonics. Cohesion across schools is another major accomplishment. The schools share a scope and sequence for the units of study, so the buildings are all following the same unit of scope and sequence. Teachers, leaders, and parent feedback is that this is the first time that everyone is teaching the same thing at the same time, and what this created was room for collaboration. Leaders are very innovative about providing time for teachers to collaborate. So they meet as grade teams twice a month that they can share ideas, pace, plan and prep lessons, and draft letters to parents to communicate. Teachers also come together as grade team leaders across all 3 buildings in cross-grade meetings. And now that they have a common language, they're able to collaborate within all 3 schools. And the Mayapack Instructional Support Team and school building leaders also meet regularly to discuss next steps and professional learnings aligned to those next steps, so the schools are receiving the same support. Gravity Goldberg Group has 2 consultants that work with us, Pam and Sarah. They started our year with a kickoff, which was an overview of balanced literacy. There were 4 scheduled visits with kindergarten and first grade teachers throughout the year, where they provide a full day professional learning. What's nice about working with this group is they're very flexible, and they meet and collaborate with leaders in the instructional team so that they can refine their professional learnings as the school year is progressing. Work with myself, the literacy coach. Majority of my work is day-to-day with teachers collaborating in classrooms. The year started with many demonstration lessons of workshop model, but other literacy approaches like interactive read aloud, shared reading, interactive writing. I also do co-planning with individual teachers and grade teams. And as the year progressed, the work has shifted into looking at data and student growth, and then collaborating about next steps and implementing to meet the students' needs. I also facilitate professional learnings. I meet with school building leaders. Was that me? Sorry. I meet with school building leaders. We discuss next steps and professional learnings aligned to those steps. And then professional learnings are given through Superintendent's Conference Day, faculty meetings, or TTTs. I worked with the writing committee this year. Brian Gilligan and I worked collaboratively so that we could facilitate professional learnings, but we also started to institute protocols so that the grade teams could replicate the work that we were doing with their teachers in schools. And lastly, I've started coaching cycles with teachers. This work is specific to student growth. We collaborate about a goal, focusing on pedagogy, content, and assessment, and then we work together planning, implementing, and reflecting on student growth. Looking toward 2021, we'd like to continue work with kindergarten and first grade. We intend to provide continued support through professional learnings and collaboration among the grades across buildings and work with the coach and consultants. Second and third grade will roll out next year, and then fourth and fifth grade will roll out the following year. We intend to provide the same materials, resources, and professional learnings that kindergarten and first grade received. Further, we're currently examining assessment systems and looking closely at the data that's generated from those assessments for the purposes of benchmarks and interventions. And we're also examining the next generation standards. Kindergarten through third grade will be implementing the units of study, and we already know that Readers and Writers Workshop are aligned to the next generation standards. This coming Superintendent's Conference Day, I'll be working with the fourth and fifth grade teachers to examine the shifts from the CCLS to the next gen standards and collaborate how we're going to shift the instruction to meet those changes. Thank you for giving me the opportunity of sharing this update. At this time, I'd like to introduce Sharon Foreman, who will be providing...
Alana, I just want to say one thing before our math guru comes up. I want to thank you for this. Many board members on this board for many years have been really pushing the envelope that our schools need to have a cohesiveness. When they get to middle school, the elementary school, some teachers could tell, oh, you're from Fulmer, you're from Lakeview, oh, that's an awesome kid. And it really was a disservice to all our students. So the fact that we're finally all on the same page and the camaraderie and the cohesiveness is really so important for our students to all be on the same page. So thank you very much for that and instilling that and really pushing that forward. So thank you for all that you do. So wait a minute, I have to say we have the math guru here, everyone. Miss Foreman. She is not only an excellent teacher, she is a great coach. She's amazing, and when students have a really hard time in math, she has made tremendous breakthroughs with that subject. And unfortunately, she's retiring, but I am going to beat you up about that because I want you to stay forever. But anyway,
thank
welcome.
you so much for that
Welcome
introduction.
and thank you.
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. DiCarlo, and community members. And thank you for this opportunity to share just a snapshot of what has been happening in math over the past year. As we spoke about last year, we continue to have horizontal alignment of our curriculum, K through 12, which means all of our teachers are teaching the same content in the same order at or about the same time. In the middle school and the high school, the flex period has allowed our teachers to continuously meet, revise, edit, and improve our curriculum. At the elementary level, we're fortunate enough to have a K-5 math committee that consists of one teacher from each building per grade level, and we meet approximately 7 times per year. All 3 buildings, like you said, Mrs. Mancuso, act as one, which is absolutely beautiful. And this is all due to the work of the K-5 math committee. So for the past 2 years, not only have they created a scope and sequence that all of our teachers follow, they've created math stretches, stations, cumulative reviews, and benchmarks. Most classes start off math class with a math stretch. You're saying, what is a math stretch? Think about a runner or anybody in athletics. We always stretch before we start. Is that correct? We do the exact same thing in math. Math stretches, they build number sense. They allow students to look at numbers differently. They build rich discussion in math. They create opportunities for students to talk before the lesson starts. They build confidence in our students, and it ensures that every student starts off every math block with success. The stations give our students the opportunity to have their learning personalized with technology. They engage in purposeful and meaningful activities, which maybe you saw on Tuesday. And while all of that is happening, it allows our teachers to work with our students in small groups. When you and I went to school, I know when I went to school, there was 30 kids in a class, one teacher. Now our teachers are working with our students in small groups. They know where every student is in their learning and where they need to go. And that is so powerful. Our K through 8 teachers have created common benchmarks that we administer in September, January, and June. We take the data, we compile it and merge it, we analyze it, and from there, we are able to make evidence-informed decisions that drive our instructions and help our students. When you know better, you do better, and now we know better. Our cumulative or spiral reviews that the math committee members have made allow our students to repeat practice math that they've seen in September or October, and they practice concepts all throughout the year, as well as targeted areas from the benchmark. At the high school last year, we inducted 64 students into the Math National Honor Society for the first time into Mu Alpha Theta. This year, we're going to induct another 30 members. As you probably know, one of our major highlights from last year and this year was our Mayapack Math Family Night with Greg Tang Jr. You might have heard about it. Greg and his team provided grade-level enrichment activities for our students during the day. Last year at Austin Road, this year at Lakeview. After that, Greg and his team worked with our teachers for about 90 minutes on a professional learning, followed by our Mayapack Math Family Night. Both years, this community event was a huge success. Parents, students, siblings, teachers, administrators, you name it, they were all able to experience Greg Tang activities, as well as what it's like to be a student in the Mayapack Math classroom. So Greg Tang Jr. was here, his dad is Greg Tang Sr. They traveled all around the nation, going to schools, working with teachers and students. And Greg Tang Sr. last year reached out via social media, and he looked at everything that was going on in Mayapack. He looked at our Mayapack Math Family Night, and I quote, he said, "I have never, ever seen a district so excited about math. Students, teachers, administrators, parents, and siblings. The world needs so much more of this. Excitement, encouragement, teamwork, community. It is just terrific." So that's just a snapshot of our Mayapack Math Family Night. In December, we had another mathematician come to Mayapack. He was at Austin Road, working with our 4th graders as well as Mayapack Middle School. It was actually through Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES. Thank you. Had I known you were here, I'd put a little bit more in there. So the professional learning opportunity was absolutely amazing. And again, there was 20 teachers from around the region there. For me, when I was at BOCES a week later, the teachers that were at that professional learning opportunity made it a point to find me and say, "What are you doing in Mayapack?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And they said, "Your students." During that Graham Fletcher presentation, when he was working with your 4th graders and then your 6th graders, they said they were engaged, they were collaborating, they were problem solving. And I said, "Well, you have to realize there was 20 other educators in the room." And they said, "No, we've had similar experience and we have never seen that happen." And I said, "Thank you very much." On the heels of that, about 2 weeks later, a local district wanted to come to Mayapack to see our math labs in action, our algebra and geometry labs at Mayapack High School. They've heard they were very successful and they want to follow a similar program. They came, they had the opportunity to be in math labs, talk to teachers, talk to students. During the debrief, the first thing that came out was, first of all, what's going on here, once again? And I said, what are you talking about? And they said, your students are invested in their learning. They ask questions, they're hard working. And I said, thank you very much. And then I sat back and I listened to what the Tangs were describing Mayapack, how the teachers from Graham Fletcher were describing Mayapack, and the teachers from another district. And I realized all the words they were using to describe our students are 100% aligned with our strategic vision. And how great, we know it, but when outsiders look in and see it, that is just a beautiful thing. So thank you for that strategic vision, because it's amazing. Looking forward to 2021, as you know, the Next Gen standards will be incorporated into our curriculum. K to 5, we already incorporated the standards. 6 through 8 will be working on Superintendent's Conference Day. Grades 7 and 8 either have 0 or 1 new standard. 6th grade has the most, but again, they will be working on Superintendent's Conference Day, as well as in the summer, to make sure that the standards are in and we are 100% ready. What do we need to continue to improve? The work that the math committee has done, K to 5, is huge. We offer PD in the day when we all meet. We revise, edit, look at our scope and sequence, and we just keep getting better. So we need to make sure that they continue and they meet at least 7 times a year. The elementary principals have been amazing finding time for me to work with grade levels at a time. So I would like to continue with that. And again, of course, to have a K-12 math instructional coach would be wonderful. So thank you for this opportunity. I truly, truly, truly appreciate it, and have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Foreman.
So before we yield to questions, I just want to again highlight the roles that Lana and Sharon and our other instructional coaches play. We have amazing things happening, particularly in literacy and math, as you can see here from the presentation. It takes everyone in the district to help support our teachers, to help our kids be successful. They're a vital piece in that success chain, and I thank the board and the community for their support of these positions. And it's a pleasure to work with them and see the work that they have been engaged in bear fruit. So at this time, I'll yield to any questions or comments.
Any board members have any comments, questions? Just thank you for all that you do. We appreciate it so much, and it's so great to see these pictures and really get a feel. We hear about it, we talk about it and the plan, but to actually see it come to life and hear the stories means so much to us as board members. To see the vision come to life, and it's a beautiful thing. And thank you for your dedication and your passion. And Ms. Foreman is very passionate. I'm going to tell you a story. So, you know, math is very difficult for most students. And one day I'm in the library and Common Core came out. And the students, you know, it was really difficult. And there's Ms. Foreman, and I run into her in the library. I'm like, oh, what are you doing here? It's like, oh, I'm trying to find new, interactive, and creative ways to teach the Common Core math. And I was like, wow. That just showed her dedication. And in her class, she had interactive, I think it was algebra you were teaching. And algebra is hard, even for me. And she just made it so much fun, and the grades for students and how they passed the regents, even students that really struggled with math their whole life, got it. It was her way of teaching. And so when she was becoming a coach, it was like, oh, those students really need her. But we were able to take her talents and share it with the other teachers and exponentially grow it. So thank you so much. We really appreciate everything that you do. And Lana, thank you. And we see your passion. We know we're going to hear a lot of great things from you too. So thank you so much for all that you do.
So at this time, members of the board, I'm pleased to welcome a very special partner to discuss a very special program that has deep historical roots in Mayapack. And I'm pleased to welcome our colleagues from Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES, Dr. Lynn Allen, Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Fred Endy, the Director of the Curriculum Center, and Mr. Dan Novak, who is the Regional Coordinator for the Center for Environmental Education. They're joining us this evening to provide insights into the role, purpose, and programming of the Putnam Northern Westchester Center for Environmental Education, which will shorten to C so we can actually get the presentation done. Every time you have to say that, it's probably going to add another minute. So we'll call it C from now on. And we're also going to highlight the partnership between the Mahopac Central School District and C. C is a BOE service that supports our teachers in delivering high-quality, engaging instructional experiences by making the classroom come alive. And Mahopac's relationship with the Center for Environmental Education dates back to 1979. On average, C programs touch over 3,000 students a year. And the program is not only limited to our students. Thanks to Dan and his leadership skill set, this past summer he hosted our administrative team as we engaged in our administrators retreat for the purpose of coalescing around our strategic roadmap. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Novak, who will dive deeper into the positive benefits that the Center for Environmental Education brings to our district.
So, good evening, board members, Mr. DiCarlo. Thank you for the wonderful support, wonderful community members. And let me actually begin by just saying how moving it was to actually hear the past presentation. My children are 6 and 9. It makes me want to move to Mahopac. Just to hear that enthusiasm, it's something that as a teacher, as an administrator, and also as the program leader for C, when we see students really get engaged in that way, and we know that we're actually creating experiences that will affect them, it's remarkable. And that's what we shoot to do at C all the time, but if we can do that with math and ELA and what's happening in their classrooms all the time, then they love going to school, and that makes a huge difference. So thank you for the time this evening. Thanks, Mike. As Mike said, our program with all of our component districts, but really especially with Mahopac, is a lot about partnership. And what we strive for is we strive to actually make those connections with children. We make connections in so many different ways with very unique artifacts, with our animal ambassadors, but really by making connections between children and with the children as we come into the classrooms. So this is a little overview of some of the things that we'll talk about or have already touched on, the history, what our main service is actually for Mahopac schools, which is the direct school programming, where we come to Fulmer Road, we come to Lakeview, and we come into your schools to do some wonderful programming with your teachers. Team building, which is something where a lot of your students have come through the Yorktown Heights, and previously the Madden for some great team building work, as well as your administrative team just this past June, and we'll have some images of those. And then one of the things when we talk about building relationships is possibilities come from those. And so we'll talk about some of the possibilities that are actually on the horizon for great things that Mahopac are already doing that we're collaborating potentially to make those even better. So just as a real testament to the longevity and the commitment between Mahopac and Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES is that we have the opportunity every year to profile one partnership in one district when we publish our school services guide. And way back in the turn of the year, excuse me, when our director approached me about who I would like to represent some of our department work in C, I immediately thought of the great work that we were doing with Mahopac. And that's why Mike Trumbley is profiled in the school services guide for P&W BOCES and was interviewed specifically about that great relationship. And as Mike mentioned, our relationship has really been with this program, Center for Environmental Education, since its inception. Mahopac was one of the first districts to partner with P&W BOCES around environmental education. So since the program has begun, Mahopac and we have been walking side by side. 3,000 students per year on average. That's the number of students who are going into the classrooms, they're coming to our facility, and they're having really amazing experiences that help define their year. And they're not one-off experiences. That's really important to note, and I'll get into that in some detail. The experiences and the integration with the current taught curriculum is really embedded. So the teachers know what they're going to be getting each year. There are a lot of programs that they look forward to having each year with each new crop of students that are coming through, and they tie their curriculum directly to it, and we do the same. So when we actually do work with writing our lessons, we make sure that they're based in standards. We make sure that we are respective to what it is that you guys are teaching in terms of your curriculum, and make sure that we can make as many connections as possible. My naturalists know when they walk into the building to actually look around and see what's up on the walls, to hear the language that the students are using. And the great work that we did with your leadership team this past summer is when we really were exploring what are the traits of a MAPAC student that we want them to graduate with. And that became part of our vernacular, part of our vocabulary when we come to the MAPAC schools. And so from a specific detail perspective, we will come in or have students come to the PNW BOCES campus 38 times a year, which is a really significant relationship and a really significant commitment of resources on both sides. But it's a complete pleasure. I'm going to give you the broad overviews of what we really cover through the Center for Environmental Education. One that is a complete throughput for everything we do is that focus on the environment. And we like to also, whenever possible, focus on the local environment. So talking with students about what animals and plants are right around here, as well as current issues that they may be dealing with. So you'll see in these images, there's actually a turtle that was we returned to a pond close by, a black bear pelt. That's an animal that is within our area, but don't worry. And it's those artifacts and those animals that then make really lasting experiences for the kids. We also try to make sure, and this as a goal of mine as a teacher for years, was to continue the learning outside of the door, outside of the walls of the school, in the room. You do that by inspiring children with your curricula, but you also do that by actually getting them outside. So a big part of what we try to do with students is use your amazing physical plan and get outside so that they can really see what is around them and make those connections. I mentioned before our great connections to curricula, so you've invested a lot of energy into the Science 21 curriculum coming out of PNW BOCES, and it's wonderful to actually be in the department with David Jacobs and Harry Rosvale and to work with them to improve our program. So we have a really significant number of our program offerings that are actually based in NISTIS that complement Science 21 very specifically, as well as our models for how to actually incorporate those standards into the work that we're doing in classes. And that's the New York State Science Centers. When we also come into the classrooms and when we take kids out of the classrooms, and you'll see this throughout, so much of our goal is to make those connections not just with students to animals and students to the material and the content, but also really to each other. You'll see that with the team building. Here it goes. You'll see that in the images, but it's really anytime that we bring in an experience, it becomes an opportunity for the kids to work together and to take something away. Science connections are not the only territory that we cover. We actually have a lot of natural history connections. We do some great colonial work with your schools. We'll come in and we'll do Native American studies. We have a specialist who really knows the Lenape really well. We have a tremendous number of artifacts that connect them to this region. We'll do the colonial tinsmithing and Jacob's Ladder construction and so many other projects that are very much hands-on and teach the students about the history of our country through good, engaging materials as well. And of course, we can't leave out the animal ambassadors, which I'll introduce you to Hedgie soon. But one of the things that I am so aware of in going to schools and watching these experiences that when you bring an animal in, a lot of those walls go away. They disappear. Whether it be taking it into a special education classroom that it really just touches the children's hearts, or whether it be into a high-level classroom, it doesn't matter. It brings something alive in children when they actually can interact with the animals and our ambassadors. We treat as our ambassador for and treat incredibly well. That's a huge part of what we do every single day, is we do up to an hour or two of animal care and animal time, because we believe that they're such an important part of our teaching core. So that's a general overview of what our programs, when they come into your schools, seek to do. Making connections between students with your curriculum and making connections with everything that's happening in and around them. These are connections that are happening all the time. This is a tweet from last week from one of your teachers, and that's your Fulmer Road principal, who I saw yesterday, and he's talking about any time that he knows that we're coming in, he tries to get to the classroom because he sees the lights in the kids' eyes of fire. And it's something that we recognize at PNW BOE as being special, but something that's coming from all angles in terms of its impact on children. And this is a winter adaptations lesson. So they're learning about standards-based material, but having that contact and asking great questions about what does it take to survive. Does that mean we have to go on vacation for 4 months? Which when we retire, maybe that'll be an option. Or does that mean that we just pull up the covers and go to sleep for a really long time? Another huge part that we focus on through the Center for Environmental Ed is social emotional connections. And you've heard me say connection again and again. But there are actually, in New York State, benchmarks for social emotional learning. And my staff is aware of and incorporates that explicitly into their lesson work. It's not ever as pronounced as it is in our teamwork and our team building work with children through our challenge coursework and through the team building that we do with them explicitly. And from her expression, you can see it's not always easy, just like life. It's frustrating. So when students will come to our facility or when we do team building in the schools, we'll present them with really authentic quandaries. We'll present them with really authentic challenges that they need to address. But they do it together. It's all about team building. It's all about teamwork. And we'll put them in certain circumstances, but they learn by doing. And they learn by working together. And it doesn't matter what their orientation is, they're going to make it work. And what's spectacular about our process in particular is how the adults are facilitators of process. They don't just help the students complete the activity, nor do they just step away and let them do it without any guidance. But after the activity, we will process. We'll ask the students, what works? We'll have those difficult conversations. And the students throughout the day absolutely grow. And they really are aiming, as they come into the day, they're really excited about getting here, into the woods, because it's a ropes course. So they really want to get to those elements. But we know that in order for them to be physically supporting each other in a trusting space, we actually start with that social and emotional trust. And we're really clear about that, and we don't compromise those standards with kids. So that when we actually get to a point where we're physically supporting each other, we've encountered very authentically those social and emotional and mental supports, so that they know that they can count on each other. And they put themselves into positions that they probably couldn't get to otherwise because of that earned trust and because of that attentiveness to each other. To the point where they're literally picking each other up. And they do really amazing things. Every process is unique. Every process is irrelevant. And at the end of every process, we still have that pattern of a caring adult that's working with the students to process, how did we progress? What have we done? What do we still need to do? And what you'll see in a moment are quotes from Ms. Campbell, your 8th grade lead teacher, who brings her class to our Yorktown Heights Challenge course every single year. And the reason that the teachers come is because it sets a really amazing tone for the year. Teachers that have come before, they sometimes will create little carpet squares in their classroom. Because we'll start with 5th grade and go all the way up. and they'll say, go back to your challenge course space when students have a conflict. And they want them to sit there and they want them to remember what were the characteristics that we discussed on that day and why they're so important to building relationships and to having a successful year. And they'll go to that space and they'll work it out. But that's a life skill, and that's something that we really invested in. And that's Noah, it's one of our instructors. Kids like Noah. And then at the end of each experience, it's really something that builds toward the entire year. So this is a specific quote from Dawn. And one of the things that she did that was really fantastic is she also invited students to identify some of their reflections concerning that. And so I'll read aloud to you. This is from Abby. I liked it a lot. The activities were a lot of fun, and I really got to trust people that otherwise I probably wouldn't have talked to. The people who worked there were also very kind and made the experience fun. This is from Chris. Field trip was very fun, really fun. I liked the activities we did in the woods. The mind games were fun. I bonded with new people. I liked the way we had lunch, sitting on the pads in a circle. I really enjoyed the conversations we had. Best field trip. And Kylie. The field trip was absolutely fantastic. I learned a lot about working together with other people, had lots of fun. It was very well organized, and I felt safe the whole time. My only problem was there was just not enough time. That's the way we want kids to walk away from an experience. And that's what we strive to do every time that they will come. And a microcosm when we actually go into the schools. Fast forward or rewind actually to June 26th is when the entire administrative team came. So when Mike and I met on the curriculum council, he approached me at some point and had said, I've been talking with Mr. Carlo and we have an idea about what we'd like to do for the summer retreat for the leadership team. And Mike came to our facility a number of times and we walked the grounds and we identified these ideas are relevant to any body of individuals. And what was really smart and wonderful, and I heard so clearly in the first presentation today, is that that trip was organized around two really real things. One was the strategic vision statement and the mission statement, and about the characteristics of the MAPAC student, where your leaders really worked through the day thinking about, okay, these are the characteristics and traits that we want students graduating from MAPAC to come away with. What are the things that we can learn from going through some of the same struggles and experiences that they have? And at the same time, and it's unavoidable, it's also a tremendous team building activity for your leadership. And so there's an amazing opportunity for them to show that same social, mental, emotional support for each other that then led to physical support when we finally got into the woods and wrapped up the day. So it was I think it was a really fantastic experience. And some things always come from good relationships. So from that experience, the AP in the high school reached out to me and said, we have this amazing MHS-like program where our ninth graders are continuing that work that we know that they're introduced to, not just when they come to the challenge course, but really through the great work that we do in MAPAC. And was looking to us as a potential resource for working with teachers about how to do some of those same things that we did in the summer together, and how to teach them how to do that with your children, and how to incorporate that more fully into not just MHS life, but the full experience of being in high school. And so also the middle school and the middle school success program is something that would begin a topic of conversation. And how do we bring some of that team building element all the way through? And when we looked at what the specific areas were, this is for the We Engage, creating a supportive learning community, check. Developing self-awareness and self-management, absolutely. Building relationships and resolving conflicts. It seemed to line up perfectly. So this is something that is in development right now. It's something that we're having conversations and talking about, okay, how can we and how much time does it take for us to work with teachers to help them understand how to facilitate a couple of these items, but that facilitation, that processing, how do we help them understand that and take it to a new level? Because we're not selfish in terms of it has to happen with us. If we can work together, we're so happy to make that happen. Other ideas that are happening is that we are in the process of developing the New York State, the science-aligned middle school programs. And one of the services that we are offering is, as the science teachers themselves are figuring out their curricula and their sequences, that we're more than happy to look at some of the ones that we've worked on, both with the Science 21 team, but also internally, and say, this is actually how we structured our program. What are your questions? This is how we did, this is the standard that we use, these are the practices that we use. Let's take this apart together. And then also, we are making the Yorktown BOCES campus into a destination too. So over a year ago, we decided to close the Madden campus, and we moved our staff, including our animals, to the Yorktown Heights property. And we want to retain and regrow some of the best elements of environmental education that were happening traditionally at Madden. We want to bring those down to the Yorktown Heights property. One of the first things I said to my staff was, environmental education is not something that happens in one place. We want it to be something that happens everywhere. And so we want it to happen at Yorktown Heights property. We love when it happens at Mayapack, and we look forward to continuing. So that's a little bit about C. I'm more than happy if you guys have any questions about that relationship. Or
I have a question.
Sure.
Oh, that's right.
While Dan's bringing out Hedgie, I just want to highlight the partnership aspect of this interaction with BOCES. One thing you may not know about me, I'm not a big fan of vendors who promise the school district everything, and then as soon as they get your check, they leave. BOCES is definitely a partner and not a vendor. And I'll use our admin summer retreat as an example. Dan brought it up a little bit. In the spring, Superintendent DiCarlo came to me and said, Mike, we need to incorporate some type of team building into our retreat. Think about an obstacle course. And being a military member who's done dozens of obstacle courses, I sat there and wondered, how am I going to build a team when I never felt close to anybody else when I was doing an obstacle course? I know Dan through the curriculum council. I also know that he's a military. He's in the military right now, so I felt an immediate connection. Dan took time to ask me, what are we doing in Mayapack? That was the first question. It wasn't, what do you want to do? What are you doing in Mayapack? What are you working on? What are some of your challenges? What are some of your intended outcomes that you'd like to see? And he took that time. We talked about needing to coalesce around a strategic plan with some new members on our administrative team, and we teased out a day that centered on bringing us together as a group of educators and leaders around a strategic plan. And not only did he deliver in high quality fashion, but there was follow-through. We didn't just go to do our retreat and then it was dropped. He came back again, helped us plan for our second day, and Dan and I meet continually throughout the year to talk about what are we still doing in Mayapack and how can we continue to partner. So I truly want to thank BOCES for the partnership, service through innovation, and partnership. They truly live up to their mission and their vision, and it's one vendor that we see as a partner.
So I want to echo that gratitude. Thank you very much. And I think it's so important with today, the environment with social media, for students to be out in the woods and connect where school and students don't really talk, and then to actually make friends and learn that interaction that normally they wouldn't is so important. It's part of the social emotional well-being that we talk about, and it's just wonderful to see that. So thank you so much for doing that for our students, and Assistant Superintendent Tremblay. Thank you very much for your leadership and with these great presentations, putting them together this evening for the board. Thank you very much.
I know you guys are going to talk about that. That's what happened. That's already.
Okay. All right, comments on agenda items only? Are there any comments on agenda items only? No? Oh, okay. Please state your name and look in the camera and smile.
Hi, my name is Lynn Mongan, and I am an employee at the Mahopac High School. And I would like to just speak about agenda item, I believe it's number 7. And I just wrote something up, so I apologize, it's all over the place. I was just writing as we were talking. I would just like you to take a look at agenda item number 7, where you are eliminating one of the senior office assistant positions in our unit. I would like to express to you all, the Board of Education, the need for this position that you are proposing to eliminate. We have several positions, at least a couple that I know of, that have not been filled in over a year, and there has not been any allocation of the duties from those desks that have not been filled to any other staff members in our unit, which basically means that that desk has been falling on the work of one person. Although we are working with efficiency and knowledge of these positions, this still results in working through lunches and working late without compensation. This is because of the dedication and loyalty of our unit. We do this on work ethic, and we do it in a timely manner because a lot of these issues are time sensitive, such as special education reports, special education meetings, and high school transcripts. I am asking for your consideration in not abolishing this position and taking a look at the real need for the position, as administrative staff and administrative needs have not gone down. They have only climbed in the district, which is resulting in a higher workload for our unit. And we are doing it again with efficiency and with knowledge and with dedication and loyalty to the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Next, we have acceptance of warrants. Motion for the acceptance of warrants.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion to accept the treasurer's report. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Approval of the, what are we doing? Work session meeting minutes, January 21st.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Motion to approve the regular meeting minutes for January 23rd.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Next at this time, we have the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. And a lot of great things are happening in the school district since we last met in January. Couple of teams, league champs, our bowling team, league champions, gymnastics, league champs, Division II champs, and Section 1 runner-ups. Our wrestling team, league champs. We have 13 wrestlers this weekend. On Saturday, starting at Sleepy Hollow High School, which is the qualifying round, and then the finals on Sunday are at Clarkstown South High School. We have 13 wrestlers at different levels of weight class, so we want to wish all of them the best of luck this weekend. Our boys and girls basketball teams, we found out today, qualified for the sectionals. Our boys will be playing at Mount Vernon High School a week from Saturday. That's February 22nd at noon. And our girls, who are the 5th seed, will be home on the 22nd at 4 o'clock versus RC Ketchum. So please come out. There you go. Thank you. So the time has changed to 2 o'clock for the girls. Thank you. I also want to congratulate Carla Jimenez. She was accepted into the Puerto Rican Hispanic Youth Leadership Institution, which is a great honor. She'll be up in Albany the weekend of March 7th through 9th. I want to congratulate the following students for their artwork. The following 8th graders will have their art projects in this year's GAC Student Show Exhibit. All projects were based on a period of art history called abstract expressionism, where these students looked at famous 21st century artwork of Jackson Pollock, Helen Frankenhauer, and Mark Rathrow for their inspiration. These students will be honored at an exhibition up at the Garrison Arts Center on March 7th. There'll be a reception from 3 to 5 p.m. and their work will be on display from March 7th to 15th. These honorees are Christina Bolzano, Giovanna Rivera, Ulrich Gallagher, Bella Devaney, Tyler Hirsch, Sal Esposito, Sean Kelly, Alexis LeBlanc, Aiden Quirk, Maria Cuomo, Kate Conklin, Haley Gustin, Adriana Pranzo, Nina Oriana, Kira McDowell, David DiLacoli, and Yin Shin. Congratulations, 8th grade art students. Also, as was mentioned by Sharon, a family fun night took place on Tuesday night, and we're going to have to do it 2 nights next year. The high school was packed, overflow crowd. I want to thank all those individuals who were involved in making it such a successful night, and we look forward to a partnership with the TANG group for many years to come. A couple of months ago, we had a young man here who we honored as a merit semifinalist. I am pleased to tell you that Vincent Fontanza now is a national merit finalist, which is an absolutely incredible honor. So we want to congratulate Vincent. I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate our inductees last Friday night at the high school. It was just an incredible night. In our Hall of Fame for Mahopac High School, we inducted Coach Collins and Coach Carassi, and then we dedicated the fitness center to a longtime coach and AD, Coach Stevens. It was an incredible night. I want to thank Mr. Mealy. I want to thank Lynn, Margaret for all their help, and all those who were instrumental in making it such an absolutely incredible and special night. And it's what makes Mahopac such an incredible community. Last month I came before you and talked about how excited I was about the snowball dance that took place this past Saturday night. There were over 200 students that attended from all grade levels. You know, they were dressed in their sharp clothes, and the night was absolutely incredible. They decorated the auditorium. The kids had a great time. Madam President talked about partnerships, working together, coming together for 3.5 hours without cell phones, with talking to one another, with dancing and having a great time. It's sad that this is what I was told, and some of you might be able to correct it, but this is what I was told. The last time there was a dance at Mahopac High School was 2001. Okay, so that goes to show you that, and I think this is going to become a tradition. Dr. Lawrence told me the kids just absolutely loved it. So again, I want to thank Dr. Lawrence for sitting down with the students, talking about having this special night, and it was absolutely incredible. Don't forget, next week is our midwinter recess. We have the full week. Students and teachers are off next week. And then on February 27th, that's the Thursday we come back in this very auditorium, will be Hidden Mischief Night, as well as a panel on vaping. We had a very well-known doctor who's going to talk about it. And I hate to say this, it's not going away, it's getting worse. And we do a lot of speaking about it. We've had speakers come in, and you know, you can't come into the school in a no smoke and drug-free zone and bring this paraphernalia in. There are going to be consequences. So please understand that. You know, one of the things, and it's very simple. If you ask an adolescent, and you have the parent there, and you ask them, why don't you smoke at home? They'll say, I can't smoke at home. I'll get in trouble with mom and dad. Well, you can't come into the Mahopac School District and smoke and not think there's going to be a consequence. And again, depending on the severity and what happens, but there are consequences for that. And then on Friday, February 28th, we have our Taste of Mahopac at Mahopac High School at 7 o'clock. It's the PTO of Mahopac is sponsoring it, and that'll be a wonderful night. There's a lot of information that's out there, so please come and join. So I know, Madam President, that this is a little bit longer than usual, but you can hear the great things that are going on in the school district, so I give it back to you.
Thank you very much, Superintendent DiCarlo. A lot of good news, so this makes everything so worthwhile when we have that great news and the ball. To have a dance is really important. So I'm happy that we're able to hopefully get some momentum on that. At this time, I'm not sure if we have any Board of Ed committee reports. We may have more next week, next month, because a few board members are out. So we'll catch up on reports at our next meeting. And at this time, we will go into the consent agenda. Any items for removal or discussion?
I'd like to remove 2 and 3 now on consent item 7 for further discussion.
Does anyone second that?
I second it.
Okay, so we will table, we'll remove items 2 and 3. Okay, motion to approve consent agenda
So moved.
minus items 2 and 3. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, so we'll remove those items from the agenda and we will table them for another time. Okay. At this time, we have any resident comments? Okay. Well, thank you for coming, everyone. Enjoy tomorrow's Valentine's Day. And gentlemen on the board, do not be cheap with your wives. Candies, flowers, a nice card will do. So thank you so much. Motion to close.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.